Peter Loubardias is with us now, and I appreciate you. Happy belated birthday, Lou.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Man,
you.
hey, are you back in Cowtown? Are you Southern Ontario? What's going on with you right now, if you don't mind sharing?
No, I never mind sharing. I'm in Mississauga, but I will be on a plane later today back to Calgary for the start of the season and the start of training camp, which opens with on-ice sessions, as it does everywhere in the league, tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. So, Lou, let me ask you this. Have you had a good summer, and does it feel like they just got off the ice, or how are you feeling about how that offseason went for the Flames and yourself?
Well, I mean, I had a great summer. It was incredibly busy, which is odd for me. Usually I find myself a lot of summers going, when is the next season going to start? But, with calling a bunch of hockey and other events for a group that I work for, attending the Helenka Gretzky and the World Junior in August, Rod, I feel like I could use about another month, but I don't have one. So it was good. I'm not sure the Flames could have had a much better offseason in light of where they were a few months ago when, in the span of 10 days, they'd lost Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk. Brad Treleving might be the GM of the year before the year even gets rolling. So they're excited in Calgary. I'm excited to see, not just the camp, but really looking forward to opening night, October 13th. See how Darryl and his staff are going to use the new people, who they're going to play with. There aren't many battles at camp. I mean, they just have too many people on one-way deals. You just talked off the top about young Adam Ruzicka, and for him, this is a really, really important camp. If he wants to be in the mix, he's got to separate himself. But the Flames are, Rod, I would say this. I think the Flames right now, and I tell the truth, and even when other people in the last few years have thought they've been more ready to take another step, I think for the first time since I've been in Calgary, that this team now has the pieces to truly make a run. Now, whether they will, there's too many factors that go in. But I like their personnel today better than I've liked it since I arrived in Calgary in 2008.
So let me examine that. And we're going to talk all NHL with Lou. He's with us for a couple segments here, not just Flames, but who are those pieces and why do you feel they now have what they need?
Well, I'm a big believer in being strong up the middle. So when you have an opportunity now to come down the middle of the ice with Lindholm, Kadri, and Michael Backlund, and then even potentially somebody like Kevin Rooney, who knows, maybe former Swift Current Bronco and Kootenay Ice member Cody Eakin grabs a center ice spot. This kind of turned into a very deep team down the middle. I've liked Jonathan Huberdeau for a long time, going back to his days in St. John, where he won a Memorial Cup with the Sea Dogs. So, you replace Johnny Gaudreau with a guy who I like a lot. And I'm not sure that he's not, because of his frame, playmaking ability, what I think he's going to add to the power play. They're in good shape. Now, they're not in perfect shape, but the key guy, Rod, for me, and you saw a lot of them last year, is Weegar. I don't think people understand, and maybe I don't even understand yet, how good a player this is. In fact, I'm somewhat expecting him to be this team's number one defenseman as far as minutes played. You can play him in all situations. I think in some ways, and Kadri is massive too, but I thought the Flames coming out of the Oilers series, they needed, even if Tkachuk and Gaudreau had stayed, I thought they needed to bolster their top four in defense. Well, with Weegar, for me, they've more than done that. So this is a good hockey team. Now, it's not to say I think they're going to win the division again, have 111 points, but I think this is the best team Calgary's had, at least on paper, for a long time.
I'm glad you brought up the Weegar thing. Consider this, with Aaron Ekblad hurt as much as he's been the last 2 years, Weegar's been elevated with the Panthers to have to play in the top pairing, and he hasn't looked out of place. By necessity, he's been a top guy for the Florida Panthers. I still don't know how Brad Treliving got him off Florida. I don't. But I got to ask you this, Lou, to flip it, because you've been talking about the new guys there for a long time, and to everybody. How about this? Tkachuk coming here. I was in the Panthers facility last week. Who's the guy, the mural on the wall, gnawing on his mouthguard, as you've said on the radio, like a chew toy? I listen to you, Lou, all the time.
Yeah,
it's Matthew Tkachuk.
True.
Now in a Panthers jersey, he's the face of this franchise. Yet I swear to you, and you probably know this, he can walk down the street and nobody would know who he is. I mean, nobody. He went to the Marlins game and threw out the first pitch. Yeah, a week or two ago. Well, last week he threw out the pitch at the Marlins game. Nobody really cared. There was nobody there. Is that the kind of situation that Tkachuk could thrive in, do you think? Or how do you think he'll deal with this?
Well, I mean, I think Matthew wanted, financial security. I think he wanted to play on a good team. He's found that. Bill Zito gave up a lot to get this guy. So he obviously thinks that Matthew is the type of player, and he's a different player, a unique talent. There aren't many Matthews in the league. So he has invested a lot on a guy who will be 24 years old on December the 11th, I believe. Is he the face of the franchise? Well, you'd have a better idea than that. I happen to think Alexander Barkov is one of the best players in hockey. I would think Tkachuk has a pretty good chance to show up on his line. That's not going to hurt anybody in hockey when you play with Barkov. So it's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch both of these two teams in light of the big deal that they consummated.
Well, Barkov's the captain, and he's the best player. All I'm saying is Tkachuk was on the wall. So I'm like, this means something.
Not right? Surprised. He loves it. He loves the spotlight. He loves to be in the middle of it. Think about our careers. I mean, how many guys, regardless of the sport, this is a guy you absolutely cannot stand for a second if he's not on your team. But you, by and large, love him if he is. So, having Sam Bennett there will help too, in terms of just some familiarity. I can't wait to kind of watch it all unfold. But I'm certainly not disappointed with the situation the Flames were in and what Brad Treliving was able to do.
Would it be out of line to say Gaudreau and Tkachuk pulled a disappearing act in the playoff? Or at least round two?
No, not completely unfair. And I thought Johnny probably had his best playoff. He was I thought very solid against Dallas in round one. So he took, for me, a bit of a step. Matthew had a great start to the series against Dallas, but then, to me, seemed to get very involved in the whole Klingberg situation, which probably ended up of a bit of a saw-off. I did not see enough from either one of those two guys, to be frank, against the Edmonton Oilers. But, no Tanev for the first three games. McDavid at a level I've never, maybe ever seen in the sport in that series. Draisaitl basically on one leg goes off for 17 points. But Rod, at the end of the day, for those two guys, and more Johnny than Matthew, just because of age and time, playoff time of the year has not been their strong suit. And if you want to win a championship, and you know how I feel about winning, you need guys like, I'm sorry, I don't care if you win scoring races. I really don't. But I do care about guys who win the playoff scoring race.
Yeah.
And who can get it done when it's hard. And it's hard.
Gaudreau, well over a point a game in the regular season, well under a point a game in the playoffs, and he's to be an offensive guy. Lou, if you don't mind, we have fans, as you know, of other teams watching. So Kevin, in Airdrie, he is a Canucks fan, and he says, Lou has one of the best voices on the radio. What are his thoughts on the Canucks signing of JT Miller?
Well, I think the move that they made to get JT Miller a few years ago has done nothing but pay dividends. They were in a very difficult spot financially. He's coming off his best season. He's hard to play against. He is used in every situation. I think that was a really, really big move by Jim Rutherford and the group in Vancouver. And it's going into last season in particular, Rod. There's a lot of talk about, the Pacific Division is a lesser like. Well, I don't see it that way. I didn't really see it that way last season. I certainly don't see it this year. And I expect Vancouver to be one of the more improved teams. And I would not be completely surprised. Vegas to me is the wild card now. I don't know what to expect there. Okay. But I wouldn't be shocked if all three Canadian teams find playoff spots in the Pacific.
I think Vegas will miss. I don't have Vancouver making it. I've got Oilers, Flames, Kings, and Ducks making it. That's just me. Randy in Winnipeg's watching, and God bless Randy. He's asking some Flames questions, but yesterday he was complaining, Lou, that we don't talk enough Jets. So can I ask you what the buzz is in the NHL about them taking the C off Blake Wheeler? Because to be honest, on ESPN here on the weekend, scrolling on the bottom of the Winnipeg Jets stripped the C off Blake Wheeler on ESPN. Big news. What was your take on that and the people in your circle?
Well, the people in my circle, and I certainly have some great contacts in Winnipeg and a good friend in Ken Wiebe. I was a little surprised when I saw it, but I think it's the right move. I really do. At a different time, Rod, I'd probably give you a different answer on the whole Blake Wheeler situation. Good player, 34 years old. But, Rick Bowness goes in there. They're coming off a couple of tough years. And I think what it signals is the Winnipeg Jets want to go in a new direction with their leadership group. So they've decided, new coach, clean slate, and that maybe whether it's going to be Scheifele, I know we're big fans of Josh Morrissey, Kyle Connor might be one of the most underappreciated wingers in the sport. I mean, they've got good players there. But to me, it's a big deal, and it is big in Winnipeg. And, Blake does a really, really good job in public of saying and doing all the right things. I can't imagine it's going over real well in his camp.
No, I can't. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And good for him for talking about it. Good for him for doing that. That's what captains do. And I guess he's not even the captain anymore. Nelson, our VP of Sim Events, says, is this the year for the Buffalo Sabres to finally put it together? And that is a great question, Lou, because they finished fifth in their division last year. Now, granted, 35 points behind the fourth place team. But are they getting better? What do you see out of Buffalo? They are getting better.
Yeah, I do. They are getting better. And, with Owen Power and, you already have Rasmus Dahlin, you have the makings of two superstars on defense, Cousins, Krebs. They just paid Tage Thompson a boatload of money coming off a great year. I really like what they've done. And it was not easy, as you know, for Kevin Adams and going through the whole Jack Eichel scenario. But I really, really like the path that the Buffalo Sabres are on. I'm not a big fan of the division they play in when you think about, trying to earn a playoff spot. But I do. I think for the first time in a long time, they're on a good road. And I have to give Don Granato a lot of credit. In a very difficult situation, he got a lot out of that group.
Jenna is watching in Southern California. I wondered if she was paying attention. Southern California, Lou. She's a Red Blacks fan and a Buffalo Sabres fan. She's just written, "Let's go, Buffalo." I was hoping she was paying attention for us talking about that. I don't know if you saw Jim Kelly on Monday Night Football the other night, rallying the crowd at New Era Stadium. Let's go, Buffalo. Arlen Bruce III is watching, Lou, a CFL great. He says, I'm heading to the Canucks versus Flames game on Sunday. Who should I keep my eye on for both clubs?
Well, those games are interesting because let's first start with the fact that Vancouver is going to play a lot of their best players because it's a home game. Calgary and Vancouver also play Sunday evening in Calgary, where Calgary will have a very veteran-laden roster, and Vancouver will be taking a look at a lot of guys on the bubble or their young people. So preseason tough, but, if you're going to a game there, you're going to see two things. You're going to see the majority of Vancouver's best players, and you're going to see, because I think road preseason games, Rod, are truly the best place to evaluate guys who would like to think they're going to play a role. Now, you have to dress, a certain amount of veterans. It's a league rule. So from a Calgary standpoint, I'm going to guess guys like Pelche and Ruzicka and Matthew Phillips and, guys maybe on the bubble are going to probably be in the game in Vancouver, while Vancouver will go with, a pretty good veteran core. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Miller, Besser, Pedersen, go on down the line over there in Vancouver.
What was the takeaway coming out of the prospects tournament from a Flames perspective?
They're never going to say this. I think they're probably a little disappointed. Now, those events, Rod, to me are all about evaluation, and they're not about results. I watched 2 of the 3 games. I had a busy weekend, and unfortunately, my gig these days didn't allow me to be in Penticton. I could probably say that a few of their guys I would have liked to have seen be more dominant maybe weren't, but it's such a tough situation because, it's how you sell yourself too. If you're really close, your focus really is on main camp and trying to make some inroads, although I'm being somewhat hypocritical because, if you watch, let's take the Oilers, for example, you got everything you would have wanted and more out of, Holloway and Bourgault and some of their key young people. So, I haven't had a chance yet, Rod, to talk to the brass. I'll certainly go down that road when I'm back in Calgary starting tomorrow, but I would guess they'd be a little disappointed. Dustin Wolf, the goalie, was excellent in his 2 games.
That's what I heard.
So so that's how I'd rate that for Calgary.
We have less than a minute. I feel like I'm the only one talking about the Connor Bedard sweepstakes in the media. Believe me, the scouts are, because they're texting me. Some are like, can you put this out there? You know how that goes. What is your take on Connor Bedard and if he finishes the season in Regina or not? We know he's going to start there. I don't know if he celebrates Christmas there or not, but how do you think that's going to play out?
Do me a favor, because we don't have enough time. Let's dig into this the next time you have me on the show. My guess is he probably stays.
Forever?
But
or till his career's over?
Well, this is it. So he's going to be in the NHL next year. He's going to be there until January the 10th. I know that. So we'll see what happens after that.
I'm with you. Well, it's a tough question, right? Nobody really knows what the edict is what you're saying. He's staying. I just hope that sober thought prevails. All right, Lou. Cheerio. Thanks for the time and safe travels.
Okay, be well. It looks pretty miserable there, so take it easy.
It's terrible. It's terrible, Lou. You wouldn't want to be here.
No, I know. Okay, be well, Roddy.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks, buddy. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of The Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.